Go.
This is what better? What do you... I'm so lost. What the hell
Put
is
air
happening?
quotes around the word rampant. It's fine. It doesn't matter.
They were making notes, and they said rampant slavery, and I said, I don't know if it's rampant. It is like, there is a lot of...
okay.
Yeah. Remember, again, we're talking about, like, maybe over the entire planetary body, maybe, like, 20 billion people that live there. So, what may appear rampant may only be a small portion of the community. But, a small portion of 20 billion is like a billion. So, take that for what you will. And then probably the most important point, obviously, is the seasonal races through the asteroid fields.
Yeah.
In which all of the warlords get together and get their best racers and submit them in and, have a grand old time making a lot of money off a lot of other things. And probably racing for other things as well.
Would I have to register as a warlord to submit Go-Go for the race?
If an outsider wanted to race, they would probably have to find a warlord that would sponsor them.
Okay.
To be honest, like, you would have to find a warlord that would sponsor you.
What if I kill somebody?
That may be that honestly may be how it works in some of the cultures, but that would probably not be the more organized ones. Those would be kind of the slum dweller warlords.
All right.
There's the whole hierarchy, right? Like, the more power, the more people, the more money you control, the higher you are up the chain. And if anybody could just kill you and take that, you're probably not the best organized.
So about that jump.
Mm-hmm. It is a single jump. Wow, barely.
Yay!
But you sure did.
That's literally the lowest I can roll.
So we have 3 days.
Indeed.
Yeah.
I will move the calendar ahead 3 days. And
4 minutes too slow.
again, that was totally on purpose.
Well, she didn't have
You
to.
never
She's fine.
loved me,
She's
Jordan.
fine. Then there should be no surprise, Will.
Yeah. No, I don't know why you're confused. So, in the 3 days that you travel, what does everyone do?
I want to hear what Fisher researches.
Yeah, that's my first question.
Agreed.
Okay.
I'm going to finish this goddamn
Are
game.
you? Are you?
I believe in you.
I hope that I'm going to finish this goddamn
Well,
Or
game.
there will be
it is an
consequences.
easier roll this week than it was last week.
Correct. So you attempted to roll a 10 and you failed spectacularly a bunch of times, and then you passed it once.
But I may have used up all of my luck on that health roll.
It's possible. That is a possibility.
Not something I had considered.
So you are at 5 out of 7 with the collar. So you get one roll
I am.
to go to 6 out of 7. And it was a 10, and then you passed that, and then it was an 8, and then you passed that. And so for the final roll, I just need you to pass a 6 or higher, which you did not do about 5 times last week. I would just like to let you know. On a tech med check, please.
Here come the
I
consecutive
think
fives.
as long as I don't get double ones, I should be okay.
Don't even say that.
Yeah, I don't know why you just said that. You know you're going to get double ones now, right? Okay, there we go.
Yes!
Holy crap.
Nice.
Yeah,
More
double
than-
ones, right?
More than double past the requirement.
Fantastic. That will not get you the 7, but it will get you to 6 out of 7. And then, of course, with this one, the final application is going to be a roll, but then also some other things going on, I'm sure, because it will be the actual culmination of you attempting to get the collar, at least in a safe manner, away. So you have a eureka moment, right? As we've talked about the scientific method before. And you acquire the knowledge that you have a pretty good idea of how it works, and you have a pretty good idea of the application of it, and you have a pretty good idea of how to reverse it, which is basically going to be weaning Chan off of it, right? Like, with the assistance of some chemical compounds and the assistance of, some behavioral training and the assistance of some psychology, and, basically you have to retrain Chan to, you have to retrain his receptors to understand when things are quote unquote commands and when they're not, right? And so like there's a lot that goes into it besides just the chemical stuff. There's no simple like inject him with this and then he's all right, okay, because remember, he's basically lived with this thing on for 23 years of his life. He's become as dependent on it as one could be.
Yeah, if anything, it's more getting rid of the psychological issues.
Yeah, right, exactly. And
point.
like eventually you suspect, based on your research, that you will eventually be able to remove the collar completely from him. But you know that will be a long process of doing it. That will progressively get better with time. Like, you'll probably have a little bit of regression, right? Like, there'll be good days, and there'll be bad days, and there'll be days where you have to, like, slap it on them just to keep them alive, from pushing it too hard. But you have a pretty good idea that it is possible to do with the assistance of some, some drugs or some other things that you may be able to find. So, hooray. So you only need one more on that, so the next time we make a jump, you'll be able to research that.
Yes.
And hopefully begin the healing process for sweet dear baby Bei Chan. Right, Megan? Okay. Anyone else?
What are you eating, Meg?
Yes, that is a good question as well.
Nothing.
Anything else that anybody would like to do? I think there's a thing that Fortune wants to do, but that requires,
Yes.
I think, a bit of RP.
Yeah.
But we also remember we have a new crew member as well.
Oh, totally. That is not going unaddressed. I'm just...
Right, totally.
So, probably as soon as we take off from 506, Fortune would have sent out a meeting request for the day after. So, like almost halfway through the jump.
Right, basically the first day, and
The first day in hyperspace.
yeah, totally.
Yeah. So I'd be like, meet, and it would be surprisingly early for Fortune. Like, why would Fortune be awake at 8 in the morning? That doesn't seem right. But that's when the meeting is called, so.
So at 10 o'clock when everybody arrives.
Yeah. There would be I wouldn't call it a slideshow, but there would be a presentation ready. And it would probably be some of the most information you guys have ever gotten from Fortune. And it would be
I was
the
assuming,
layout.
Gogo, would you show up?
Depends on the contents of the message.
I'd be like, mission indoctrination briefing, possibly lots of money.
$.
Oscar is there on time regardless of, irrespective of the number of dollar signs.
Well, I mean, you had a $, so I guess you'd show up eventually.
Hooray.
Okay, so 10 o'clock when everyone shows up.
Chan also attends. But our beautiful friend Stitch does not.
Pip does not.
Yeah, Pip does not.
I
Okay.
think I've
Well.
only seen him once.
Yeah, and he
doesn't be
was telepathically controlling your friends when that happened.
Yeah.
Once too many.
There's probably a display, a layout showing a very basic path of information that I've found so far, showing that the Stockland Syndicate is controlling the drug trade. They're getting these specific types of drugs from this person. It's showing an X through a couple of faces that we've already killed, and there's a question mark over a face which now has a small picture next to it showing somebody with purple hair.
Yeah. So it's the cork board, right?
Yeah.
It's
Pretty much I picked it up from out of my room and brought it into
Yeah, totally.
it's the whole like Charlie from It's Always Sunny thing again.
Correct.
Like
Yep.
pins and string
and no one understands it except for me. But I'm
Right.
trying to explain it to the rest of the crew, saying we need to go to 709 to find this person, and no one understands why.
So Oscar, after you give your spiel or whatever, he says, Fortune, what are we to do with this person?
Capture them.
And then what?
Deliver them.
To whom?
And then the second slide shows up, and it's like the from. Sorry, hold on. I gotta pull up my notes.
Yeah, it's an African American man that has his head shaved down, that has like these big garish earrings and like has a lot of jewelry on his wrists and.
Yeah, it shows a picture of Jaziel.
Yeah, it's Jaziel.
And he's classy, very classy. Is the best way to put it.
Yeah, correct. He's in like a
Wait,
clearly
has Oscar met this guy before?
No.
Okay.
No one's met this guy.
Sure.
And I would be like, we have to bring this person that we don't know any more about other than the name of Violet, and they have purple hair, to somebody named Jaziel on Haldis.
Correct.
And we are not required to disrupt the trade beyond this. It is a simple kidnapping.
Correct.
Perhaps there's more to be made here.
Something I had not considered.
Chan raises his hand.
Yes, Chan?
Yes, this, Jaziel, what is his surname?
Unimportant.
He writes down unimportant next to Jaziel on his notepad.
Yes, Mr. Unimportant Jaziel.
Yeah, no, that's 100% what he writes.
I can't wait to introduce Chan and Jaziel now. No. Alright. Close enough.
Yeah. So I think Oscar, when you say that, he says, we have some time to plan.
We do.
Several jumps before we get there.
Yes.
Perhaps you should ask around.
The downside, well, hopefully this jump we will learn some stuff at 507. But at the moment, nothing is known about 709. So planning anything is impossible.
Nothing?
Correct. Absolutely nothing.
The archives of the vast net of information that exists, publicly at least, depicts the fact that there is an inhabitable planetary body in Section 709 that is linked via hyperspace route to Section 707. There is no other public information recorded anywhere within your reaches without perhaps maybe calling in favors to the right people of that system whatsoever. For all intents and purposes, it is actually off the grid and out of contact.
Fortune, my lower limit for information going into situations likely to result in grave bodily harm or death was what we knew about Bruno. You're going to have to do better than this.
Well, I wasn't planning on just going into 709, immediately kidnapping someone and leave. There was going
Please
to be...
update me on your plan as it develops.
Well, my plan was to jump to 709 and tell Gogo to have the ship ready to go to full throttle immediately.
So, the problem is you have to refuel, right?
Well, yeah. Well, we have fuel scoops.
Do you?
Yes.
Okay.
We haven't sold them yet.
Correct. That requires
Okay.
3 days of harvesting fuel, by the way.
I mean, we can just fly away for 3 days. I have complete faith in Gogo.
Oh god. Also, this is totally out of character, but can we even have another person on our ship presently?
Yes.
Okay.
You
Just
can.
question.
It will begin to become expensive because you'll have to fill up the air supply
I was gonna say
more
air might
often
be thin.
than a.
Okay.
Right, yeah.
Just
Well,
questioning that for a
that's
moment.
the thing. They don't have to be alive. It's preferred if they are, but they don't have to be.
Correct.
Okay, just a question.
More important details are coming out.
But the pay will be significantly larger if the person is alive.
And Fortune, if I may ask, what is our cut of this?
Yes.
Bruno, you will remember, was all you.
No. I think everyone in the crew got $2,000 from that.
Technically, Fortune hasn't gotten paid for his thing yet. He hasn't completed the mission yet.
I don't think that. Well, yeah, that's so. Just add a character. Like, I was under the impression that 0 money whatsoever was gained from the Bruno thing.
Oh,
other
Bruno,
than,
sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't been paid for that one yet.
Yeah, so that's
Because Bruno it was a small piece of the grander mission.
Yeah, Bruno's lieutenants, and then whoever this fourth character is the final missing puzzle piece for then successful mission. Fortune gets paid.
okay.
Everybody
So
gets paid.
that's what Oscar's.
Yeah, no, Bruno was like worked for 2 people. Worked for me, but we were doing more of that for Gogo than for me. I just happened to needed some information.
Correct.
So I haven't been paid for Bruno yet. So there wasn't.
He says, "All right."
I don't have a price written down for what we're gonna get paid because I don't think I was ever told.
Yeah, you typically don't get told.
Yeah, but I know it will be a substantial sum of money.
Yeah. And you know that
based on previous contracts,
right.
This is going to be very large.
And you also know
the
that
person flying it.
Yeah, you also know that Jazeel probably paid a hefty sum and is also willing to pay more, and that's where the alive portion comes from.
Alive part comes from.
Right.
Because
he wants to have his own pleasure with him. Or her, or it.
Gross.
The Claris contract probably doesn't state dead or alive, but I met with the actual individual procuring the contract, and he said dead or alive. So, or alive or dead.
Sure. Okay.
So, to the entire crew, can we jump to a body that we know very little about? Will you allow us to do so?
I've already expressed my displeasure at having absolutely no knowledge when being thrown into a situation that immediately gets me fired upon by machine guns and rocket launchers.
Well, we don't know that's going to happen yet either.
This is the first time Gogo speaks up the whole time, and she just is like, "Yeah, I'm down."
So we've got 1 yes and 1 no.
Yeah. Oscar says,
If it would help, I plan on having more information by the time we leave this planet.
He says, pending better intel, I am on board with this. However,
Chan raises his hand.
Yes, Chan?
Miss Fortune, I'm looking here. Are we certain there is even an exchange station in this particular section of the sector?
No.
Ah, yes. Then...
But as previously stated, there are fuel scoops on the ship.
It seems that it would stand to reason there wouldn't be a station if we were not aware.
Yeah, he raises his hand again.
Yes, Chan?
Uh,
By the way, Chan, you don't have to raise your hand to speak an opinion.
Understood. And for queries?
Same. You do not have to raise your hand.
Understood. I was told about a function that the ship can perform that perhaps we could carry our own fuel. Maybe.
Maybe.
Explain.
It is possible that we could take an amount of fuel that would allow us to return without having to utilize the fuel scoops. It seems, well, I believe the word that would be used would be foolish to go in to the unknown and have to spend more time there than is necessary.
It most certainly does, Chan.
Yes. I did not know this was an option, Chan. Thank you very much. We'll discuss this later, and probably that. Yeah, I like it.
Oscar speaks up again. He's like, no, so a condition for this is going in completely prepared. I would like to pick up some equipment before we do so.
Absolutely.
That flea market.
Yep.
Luckily, there's a flea market in this.
Let's pretend we weren't all joking about this 10 minutes ago. He says,
but really.
Yeah. So he's like,
I assume none of that was a joke, to be honest.
oh, about no,
About
I mean
the
like
flea
out
market.
of character previously.
Oh.
This isn't this is a serious suggestion. So he says, yeah, we it would behoove us to perhaps go in over prepared, considering,
Absolutely. So we will, now that we have basic information, I'm assuming we will revisit the subject of jumping to 709 after we leave 507. Or before we leave 507.
certainly.
Okay. So I have some work to do on 507. Got it.
Is the meeting adjourned bell rung?
Yeah. And it's probably a methane bell. I don't know how a methane bell sounds, but that's what we want.
Something to that effect. Great.
Yep.
We will reconvene upon leaving 507.
Chan raises his hand and then lowers it slightly, like it's just like
yeah, Oscar. Oscar
it's not,
glares at him.
It's not like straight up in the air, but he puts it up and then he lowers it to just above his head because he's confused because he was told this is what he should do, right? Obviously.
I wait as long as possible.
Yeah, it
to see if he speaks up.
It continues to drop slowly and gets below his face, and then he says, excuse me.
I try not to say it. I'm gonna wait until he says his opinion / question.
Okay. Yeah, there's a moment where he's looking around between all of you and nobody has addressed him, I assume. And then he's like,
Chan, please.
He swallows and then when addressed, he's like, yes, I will get to work in seeing about perhaps acquiring some bunkers for additional fuel. Also, what does this word that you speak mean? Reconvene?
We'll have another meeting.
He nods his head vigorously and writes down another meeting on his compad where he's taking notes.
All right.
Okay.
Close enough.
Oscar stands up, nods to Fortune, looks around. No one says anything else, and then he goes off the seat pit.
Yeah. Fortune is probably going to head off to the ice and do some alternate climate training on shooting.
Yeah, totally.
Does he just like hang up his clothes outside the door and
Yeah, goes with as little as possible, and attempts shooting or attempts fake shooting in a frozen place.
Less than 0 degrees Celsius.
Yes.
Yeah, totally. So Gogo and Chan and Dr. Fisher are left in the room. Do you guys quickly get up and leave? Or, Dr. Fisher, have you made your discovery by like halfway through the jump? Do you reveal this then while everybody's sitting in the room there?
I mean, I've already told Gogo that in the next week or two it should be finished. So I think I'm probably going to try to focus on finalizing the delivery methods on how it will be sorted.
Yeah, absolutely. So Chan, like, he's sitting there, like, writing notes, like, pointedly not looking at either of you. Gogo, do you, like, get up and leave at this point?
Yeah, I think that, her feet would have been kicked up on the table as she removes them, leans forward in her chair, and kind of, like, looks at Chan, looks at Dr. Fisher, and it's just like, well, okay then. And she just like stands up, and I think she checks the time on her compad, and then presumably realizing that it's time for something, and then walks towards the medbay.
Yeah. So you get to the door and you hear in like the tiniest of voices. It's like almost inaudible, but you hear, "How are you feeling?" And like Chan is like taking notes, and like his head is turning red, like if you stop.
Yeah. No, I think that Gogo would probably have heard it, but then thought that she maybe imagined it because that's so out of character. So I think she just sort of turned around and said, what Chan?
He kind of like he startles a bit and like turns around a bit sheepishly and says, I was wondering how your physical health is doing, Gogo. And he's like fidgeting with like the buttons on his compad a little bit, like kind of like over rubbing them. You can see he's like wearing away like the rubberized portion of it a little bit, like just by rubbing so hard.
I think that she fully turns around then to like face him, and she looks at him like right in the face, which obviously he probably doesn't meet her gaze, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But she just says, "I'm just fine, Chan. You don't have to worry about me. Not ever." And then she just like turns away.
Yeah, and as she leaves, Dr. Fisher, you're maybe like sitting there awkwardly in the corner, and you see Chan breathes a sigh of relief, and he says, after Gogo leaves, he says, "That is good." And he like goes back to working on his notes that he was taking.
Yosh, gonna finish this, and it's going to all fit into place, and everyone will be happy. And
Chan is a very literal man.
I love that Will has all the feels that I have because nobody else cares about Chan.
I mean, according to Boomer's instructions, I'm supposed to kill him if he goes crazy, so...
That's a good point.
I'm so also glad that Gogo does not know about this.
Better hope Will doesn't screw up.
According to Boomer's plan, I was told nothing, so... Chan is non-existent to me.
True.
Or pretty much close to it. He doesn't help or hinder, so...
That is fully untrue. He is our chief engineer.
He is our engineer
Well,
currently.
well,
So
yeah.
we need to care about
Yeah.
him.
This is a true statement.
Yeah.
So,
So,
we
Oscar.
land.
Well, not yet.
Oh, okay.
Oscar. Is this the first time you're visiting Pip?
How many... Well, where are we right now? Like, how many days have passed?
So it's basically like you've spent a full 24 hours in hyperspace.
It
was like the
would
next
have,
morning
like-
after your jump, basically.
Yeah, so I think there would have been basic, like, whatever would pass for pleasantries between these
Yeah.
two.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think he would have immediately, like, prior to even making the jump, gone and, like, showed him where he would be staying and, like, given him a sort of lay of the ship and so forth.
Yeah.
Maybe in some serious detail considering his visual impairment.
Right, because he's blind.
Yeah, so, like,
Or-
that would have happened, but
Supposedly.
showing up now to speak with him would be like, okay, let's get to business, you know.
Yeah, so you probably head off to his quarters, like, you know, you're like, okay, I give him a day to settle in. Now maybe is when I go and I ask, like, okay, so now that you're here, right? Like, that's the mindset you're going into it with.
Oscar is all business. Like, he's been trying to find someone capable of helping him learn these techniques for, like, an extremely long period of time. And now he finally has someone whose specific purpose
Mm-hmm.
at the, you know, behest of someone he, you know, someone who's fairly influential and he you know, respects as a contact. You know, he's not going to waste time with this.
Very polarizing individual, one might say.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. So you go and maybe you like knock on his door 3 times very promptly.
The usual.
And the light like turns green for you to come in.
He does so.
Yeah. And you can see like kind of sitting cross-legged in the middle of the bed, and again he's very short and kind of hunched over. You see
How
that,
old does he appear? Like, is he just like old as dirt, or is he?
Yeah, man. Based on your knowledge of human years, he looks to be over 90.
Okay, so he's like, in terms of how long people live in this year.
He is certainly
He's-
getting towards the end.
Yeah.
Like, people live, like, lifespans are generally a bit longer, especially with, like, cybernetics and stuff nowadays. But I would say still not much beyond maybe, like, 130 as, like, a maximum, right? And that doesn't necessarily mean that, like, you look any different, right? Like, you still age at the same rate. It's just
Right.
how long you're able to be sustained beyond
Yeah.
that.
Past like 90, it doesn't necessarily mean you're living well.
Right,
You're alive,
exactly. Yep.
but
You are breathing, kind of.
yeah. Okay, so he's. I think that qualifies for the old as dirt
Yeah.
description.
Yeah,
Okay.
totally. And you can see he's got his walking stick is like push the button to allow somebody in, like the unlock button. And you can see his head is kind of like drooped down. His chest appears to be like rising and falling with like steady rhythm. He looks asleep.
But I know that he opened the door.
Yeah, I mean, it's obvious that he opened the door. It looks like he opened the door and then like dozed off before you opened it.
So yeah, Oscar steps like halfway into the doorway, just so it doesn't automatically close again. And he says, "Pip."
Huh? What?
Oh.
He kind of like looks around and like kind of like rubs his eyes and like he's like swinging his cane kind of like almost haphazardly around like the room. He like probably hits like the desk. And like hits the chair, and which is bolted to the ground, so it just kind of like squeaks and spins a little bit. And he like taps on the bed, and like you see he's like trying to figure out like where he is, and he's like, "Who's there?"
It's Oscar.
Yes, of course I knew that.
Yes. May I come in?
Yes, that's why you rang the doorbell, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes, come in if you must.
He comes in and like, is there like a little table in here or anything?
Yeah, you could sit like at his desk, like pivot the chair so it faces the bed.
Sure. So he kind of lumbers over and swivels the chair around and sits down and says, "I hope you will be comfortable in this space. We are not exactly a luxury liner. It's a fairly humble operation."
Yeah, and I think he says, he's like, "I don't need many comforts. The size is not what concerns me, but did you know there is this odor coming from the vents? I think something is living in there."
I will look into it. Perhaps I will get you an air freshener from the supply room. It may be Fortune. I'll speak with him about hygiene again.
I think he says, "Which one is Fortune?" Oh, you mean Arthur?
Arthur. Yes.
Yes. I was briefed.
By Natalia?
Yes, she sent me many documentation that I could read.
What do you know about me?
Interesting question. I know that you are not as powerful as you want to be.
Could be said of many.
Yes, indeed, but those who do not know the upper limits do not deserve the power they achieve. I myself gained all of the power that I require many years ago.
Pip, you are most certainly speaking my language.
Yes, it is English, yes? Not some other language we are speaking?
No.
Sometimes I tend to slip into many other things.
Pip, I do not have much. All I have is the ability to better myself.
And that of your family.
So to speak.
Yeah, and just to note as well, aesthetically, he's like staring at the door still, even though you're like sitting in the chair, you know, like off to his left.
That's kind of what I was picturing.
Yeah, good.
Like
good.
just him staring off into space.
Just to make sure we're on the same page there.
Yep.
Yeah, and he kind of says, he kind of like shakes his head and he says, "Speak your mind, Oscar. This is one time that I will allow it."
I think you already know what I seek. I wish to train now such that I may... and he seems like he pauses, and Oscar kind of like... If Pip could actually see him, it would seem like he'd be, searching for words.
Sure.
And he says, Pip, I strongly believe that battles are won well ahead of the day they occur.
Ah, yes, indeed. Roll me a reflex saving throw.
Reflex?
Yeah,
Evasion?
that's what I mean.
So, okay.
I think reflex is 3.5 edition. I went way back. I went in the way back
Okay.
machine there.
So you actually mean
An evasion
physical
save.
evasion
Correct.
save.
And
Okay.
I need an evasion save from you.
This is going to be a failure and a half. There we go.
So, yeah, you receive
Wow.
a very sharp rap on your knee from the walking stick that, like, seemingly, like, comes out of nowhere. Like, when you rub it and maybe, like, give, like a look. And when, like, you look back up at Pip, he's staring directly at you. Like, almost as if he could see, staring directly at you. And it's kind of, like, disconcerting with those weird, like, milky white glazed over eyes that are, like, staring into your soul, right? And he says, oh, well, you act as though we haven't been training for, my estimate, about 30 hours already. You are weaker than I thought, especially from one from the School of the Mind. Perhaps they have slipped since I last attended.
His physical quickness is not my strong point.
Yes, but why not? Why do you focus
Because you
so
can't
much?
improve rolls like that, Jordan. That's why I got armor. He's Oscar says, in actuality, Oscar says, if I train as best I'm able, one has to work with the aptitudes they are most inclined toward.
And what makes you believe that you're inclined towards specific aptitudes? Who told you this? Was it when you were taught?
Trial and error,
I see.
and a good number of hard raps on the knee.
Yes, well, many more to come. You are one that cannot be beaten down mentally for many reasons. One being your race. The Syriac people are resilient in that regard. Most vexing. Many a duel I have dealt with many of them, with many of the Syriac people. You are like them in many ways. Syriac focus externally more than internally. This is what we must break.
I would like to think I'm ready to tear down some preconceptions, Pip.
Good. Roll me a mental effect save. Never. I love my Stitch accent. Nice.
Yes.
Yeah, so you feel a sharp pang that it's almost as if you hear in your mind the sound of a nail gun being shot out at range at a plate of steel, and it's that bong. And it kind of reverberates in your head, and Pip kind of nods and smiles and says, "Good. We shall see how much more we can take." And then I think we kind of fade to black, and your training begins in earnest to learn how to block out the effects of surrounding psychics.
Malfeasance.
Yeah, totally.
Wonderful.
Cool. So, does anybody else do anything during your 3-day adventure to 0507?
Nope.
Go does drugs.
What?
Huh? What?
Go-Go's high as a kite for as long as we're on autopilot.
I did not know that was an option.
Which reminds me, Dr. Fisher, roll me a perception check. Okay.
7.
Not bad.
No, it's 12 to the hour, Will.
You are about to arrive in a system full of warlords, though.
Yeah.
But it's up to you. Save Gogo's life, also seems important.
Yeah, if our pilot is cold and blue in the bathroom.
Good
really
rolls for
won't help
finding amazing stuff at a flea market are upcoming.
Yeah. I don't think her condition is so bad she would intentionally commit suicide.
Not that you noticed.
That is the operative word there, isn't it?
Yeah. But she has medical.
So you arrive in 0507.
Yep. Okay. Fine.
Okay, well, I'm not dead yet.
You do your thing, Will. I'm just joking around.
No, it seems completely legit.
As long as Jordan doesn't take 11 minutes to do this intro, then we're good.
Start the timer.
So you guys arrive in 0507, and you receive the typical spam mail for everything going on in the system. Based on what I've described to you and how things work and all of that other fun mamma jamma stuff going on, what would you guys like to do first?
Drop off supplies.
Then pick up race car.
Yeah. Have you told anybody about that, Gogo?
No.
So here's the deal, and I worked this out a couple days ago, so I can reveal it to you, Gogo. It is totally possible for you to load the vehicle onto the ship. It is a fighter class vessel. Now, you do not have a specific docking bay for this vessel. So what that means is, outside of trying to open up the cargo bay and fly it out in space, it will require, full disembarking, getting everything ready, because you'll have to, basically you have to take off the it's not going to fit through the cargo bay just willy-nilly. You're going to have to, disassemble a portion of it to make it in there and fit it in there. You won't be able to just, take off and fly out of the cargo bay with it. But you can transport it around. The bad news is, it will basically take up one of your cargo holds. With its girth and size. With, basically that and the rest of your supplies that you guys would have, and the motorcycles, etc., etc. So you would be limiting the amount of stuff that you can take on board besides this. However, it can also be a source of income, obviously.
Uh-huh. I mean, that's how Go-Go sees it, but...
Yeah, totally. It can pay for itself, certainly.
Question.
Yes.
When it costs
Query.
$0, it's pretty easy.
True. I mean, there's that too. Long term, obviously not right at this moment, but long term speaking, how much would an adaptation to the ship cost in order to make that possible?
So in order to make that possible, it would take, and I am right here at the page, so... in order to get that... actually, you would not be able to do that to your current ship. A frigate-sized ship is not large enough to hold a fighter ship bay, which is a cruiser-level device. So, just FYI. Yeah. We might be able to come up with something, but it would require probably some research on somebody's part of how to do it well.
I mean, Chan's like real good at engineering right now, right? So,
Not really.
Loud.
So, yes.
Sorry.
It might be possible, but it would require a lot more work than just being like, hey, I want that
Sure.
ship bay.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Just checking.
So, dropping off supplies is your first option. So you get the general, like, spam mail. One thing that pops up for you, Go-Go, that you probably get interested in, and it pops up for everybody, so if you are interested in it too, you can comment on it. But the one thing that pops up is the autumn circuit is closely approaching. It is basically the month of August when the autumn circuit occurs. And it's done between both planets and some of the asteroid belts that are on the edge of the system, but it's an in-house system tournament for spaceship racing. So that may be something that Go-Go is interested in, and possibly Oscar. Or possibly Matt, I should say.
Oscar has a little bit of money burning in his pocket, and he might need some new toys if they're going on another suicide mission shortly. So,
yeah. So that's something interesting that pops up. Nothing else really of note, though, does appear. And so you spend your 6 hours flying to Dakani, the planet that we are going to be on. And when you arrive, the tower greets you and it instructs you to stay on the edge of the asteroid field because you have to get navigational charts before you can actually enter in. Because of the fact that I mentioned there's like 20 billion fucking people living here. There's a lot of traffic, and trying to just fly in yourself is basically destined for death. Because of all the asteroids and rocks flying around in the ring planet and all the other space traffic that's going on, you essentially have to wait for a while. There's kind of a traffic jam, let's say, in getting onto the planet. And so, you're waiting your turn in line, and you're directed to a different area where you're supposed to wait. And you make contact with a medical facility that appears to reside in one of the residential sectors down on the planet. And this is probably the, what's a good name? Let's see here. It is probably the... It's the Hasgar Medical Facility. And it's basically a hospital. It's a clinic, right, where you are delivering these supplies to. You pull up their page or whatever just to check them out. They appear to do a lot of, like, pro bono work and a lot of, like, they're essentially like a charitable organization that exists on the planet to help those in need. Looking a little bit deeper, you can see that they are funded specifically by a faction that exists on Eurypylos, back on your homeworld there, Will. So this appears to be some outreach program or, just generally trying to get medicine and tech and generally good feelings to other people. basically. So you head off to a somewhat more remote portion of the asteroid field. There's a lot less like traffic here and stuff. And you're basically just waiting for the navigational charts to finish downloading so you know how to get to that area without dying in the asteroids colliding together and shit that is occurring in front of you. And as you're waiting there, I want Fortune to make me a perception check, and I want Dr. Fisher to make me a computers check. Both based off intelligence. Not bad.
Yay! Fortune knows something.
Let's-
Nice.
Whoa.
I know more
So
things.
the perception check was to see like the general like navigation of like the asteroids, and they appear fairly erratic. But Fortune, you're able to determine that there is like somewhat of a pattern, at least in the direction they are all rotating, and like maybe you're just kind of idly like, you know, twiddling your thumbs as you're waiting to, you know, for Gogo to get the charts downloaded, and you're kind of like observing how the rocks are kind of moving, and you can see that there are a couple of asteroids in this part of the system, some of the larger ones that actually have like facilities on them, like that are actual like residential habitats, or maybe industrial habitats, or maybe mining facilities. You can see like just flipping through the scanners on some of the larger asteroids, like in the general vicinity, that there are those things. For you, Dr. Phil, with the computers check, you are just, you know, typing through the sensor readings and stuff like that, and you get it's not necessarily loud enough for you to feel, but you get like a little warning light that pops up, that like basically notifies you that a smaller asteroid has like made contact with the field, or with the like the base of the ship, and there's like you look some more and you see that there's a couple of like the ship is being pelted with like some of these smaller you know, satellites or smaller asteroids. The debris essentially is kind of coming off, and you can see like maybe you get the sense of feeling like, oh yeah, this is scary. Nothing too concerning, but when that warning light pops up as well, the bridge gets a text message from Chan that pops up on the view screen. It's in all caps, and it says, "Going to check down underneath," and then like gives you a readout for the loading, like the light, right? And he goes down there to do his thing. And right kind of at the end, you the navigational data like pops up, and it's like loading, gets to 99%, and then all of a sudden in the entire cockpit there's kind of like a bzz, bzz, and like everything kind of fades in and out a little bit. Fortune, we determined you're on comms, or no, you're on sensors. Will's on comms. So Dr. Fisher, you see the video screen pops up, and you didn't do it.
Do they?
It's just kind of like white noise. They don't hail. You're literally, you do not accept a hail. You do not send a hail. A video message pops up on the giant viewboard in front of you, in front of the whole crew actually, but you didn't do it.
Hello?
And it's just like static, and then like it kind of like comes in a little bit clearer, and a voice speaks, and it is in rough English, but Oscar, you recognize the accent to be Sriek, 100%. And when the image finally like kind of fades in,
I am probably, like, to be fair, I am probably nowhere to be found.
You're not in the cockpit waiting to go in?
I would expect that. I mean, when is this in relation to, like, when the training business started?
Oh, you wouldn't be training right now. Like, you guys are getting ready to approach the planet.
Oh, okay.
Is what I'm saying. Like, you
Sure,
guys are
I
waiting
just-
on the edge of the asteroid field to approach the planet.
All right, in that event,
I was
then,
working
yeah.
under the assumption that when we said a while back, like, when we're approaching planets, everybody's basically in the cockpit, like...
Yeah, and in general, I would absolutely say that. I just didn't want to, like...
Oh, yeah,
game
no.
or-
It's... So, we'll discuss your training a little bit more after this.
Okay.
It's not traditional, in any sense of the
I
word.
didn't figure it would be.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay,
Anyway.
so I recognize that it's...
Yeah, and
it's
you also recognize it to be female, although it's probably a bit harder for the rest of the crew to tell the difference, right? But you recognize it to be female, and finally the screen like kind of flashes in, and we see like a very dark interior of a ship, and we see a captain's chair, and we see this female Syriac that's kind of got like her hand on her chin, and we see her eyes kind of moving around, or multiple eyes kind of moving around, and you see like she obviously like nods to someone off screen, and then turns towards the viewport, and she says, "Greetings, West Wind vessel. Be advised that it is my regret to inform you that we will be relieving you of your medical supplies at this time. In case you were unaware, my men and women are already on your ship. We have boarded. We are currently removing these supplies that we desire, and I would suggest that you comply with this regard."
We're still in space.
Yeah, totally.
Oscar scoots back to his room.
You leave?
Like-
You're all on the viewport. She has control of your cameras. Yeah, it's very clear she's looking at all of you. Like, she's taking control of that portion.
Okay. Oscar steps up, says
It's clear this was a courtesy.
Yeah.
he straightens up and he says, "Identify yourself."
Yeah, and I think she kind of like, you see what you would equate to an eyebrow raising, Oscar. And she says, "Ah, yes, I guess that would be necessary. I am Malboth Zalm Emlong. And you, what are you called?"
I am not one you would wish to make an enemy of in coming months.
Yeah, I think you see her she flares a little bit, right? Like, you can see the flares, and she smiles. And she says, "Yes, well, that is unfortunate." And you see her kind of wave a hand, and popping up on the view screen, maybe you guys are like searching through the cameras, like, what the fuck is she talking about? Your cameras look fine. She pulls up your own cameras on the view screen, but clearly it's an actual feed of your cameras. And she says, "I would suggest that you all comply again, as it appears your engineer went to inspect some things and was caught up." And you can see like a couple of like flashes, and you can see the cameras. You can see there are, rough estimate, about 15 individuals on your ship currently. You can see where they have boarding tubed into the cargo bay. And you can see where they're like unloading the supplies. And you can see there are a couple of individuals like standing with like these weapons kind of at the low ready. And you can see Chan just kind of quietly like sitting on the floor in between them. And just kind of like looking around, not really absent-mindedly, but maybe a little bit worried. But like looking at like what they're doing, it's not, he doesn't show fear, right? Like, he doesn't know that he needs to be afraid. But he looks concerned that like, no, this is the stuff that we were supposed to take. Like, why are you taking it? Like, he's confused almost. And you guys can all see this from the view screens. And she says, "Understand that this does me no pleasure. It is something that unfortunately must be done. I hope you understand."
If I may, you do not seem like the regular group of bandits and pirates.
Yeah, and you recognize all of the individuals that are on your ship are also Syriac.
Yeah.
Every single one of them. And she says, well, that would be so, as we do not brand ourselves as bandits or pirates. But, well, I could see how some might think that. Just understand that we require these far more than you do. And I would prefer not to compensate you. At least in the form that you are wanting.
I would prefer not to have to jettison your dead.
I think she just kind of like shakes her head, like kind of sadly. She says, well, since you will not do me the honor of giving me your name, dear fellow, I will say this is time for us to part ways. I understand that you may be upset by this, but know that this is for the best. And the view screen shuts off.
God damn it.
He's scooting back to his room the moment that's over.
Yep.
So
Fortune, or actually Philip, roll me another computer skill check with intelligence. Yeah, there it is.
What?
That's what I was waiting for. So, you know what to look for now. And you're like, what the fuck? How did I miss this? Mostly because they actually have a ship outfitted to evade this, but other than that, you like do a couple scans again and like you focus in on the bottom. You realize very quickly that you have a frigate-sized ship attached to the bottom of your hull. And that sensor that you thought was a smaller asteroid maybe making contact with the hull was actually like the boarding tubes making contact with the hull. And in addition to that, for them to cut off your sensors that quickly and take over everything, these are not amateurs by any sense of the word. These are full-on professionals and probably have done this a million times, probably with ships way bigger than yours. And I think you realize that very quickly, but obviously not before Oscar pops back.
Yeah, so we're gonna have to kill some Shriek.
I think I would probably send a message through comms. These guys do mean business, and we are highly outmatched. Probability of survival is 3.8%.
Perfect.
repeating.
Yeah.
Fortune
Of course.
immediately comes back across. So you're saying there's a chance?
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And I think...
And I'm heading straight to the cargo bay, weapons.
Yeah.
Where's Gogo in all of this? Is she?
No.
Gogo's been real quiet the whole time.
I actually think that's a great place to take a break.
Yeah.
Let's do a shorter break. Can we all be back in 5 minutes?
Yep.
It depends on how long it takes me to load my plate full of spaghetti and meatballs.
Okay, load it in 5
Hurry.
minutes.
Okay.